What if asking you a question got you called a liar? And what if pointing out something weird got you compared to Alex Jones? And what if the FBI had evidence right in front of them and just walked past it? Today, we're breaking down the Candace Owens Piers Morgan interview. And what you're about to see is what happens when you start asking questions. Because here's the thing, nobody said the shooter didn't pull the trigger, and no one said Tyler Robinson is innocent. The question is this: is that the whole story? And I think that's what we're all pressing for, is the whole story, because this Tyler Robinson narrative to me is a bunch of bullshit. That's just my opinion. So, of course, we all know what happened on September 10th. Tyler Robinson is now being charged with aggravated murder, and the prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. So everybody's thinking, oh, case closed. Right. But not for Candace Owens. And here's where it gets very interesting. So Candace Owens, to me, I believe she was a true friend to Charlie, and that's why she keeps digging and she keeps asking questions. And the moment she asked out loud, people just literally lost their freaking minds. And here's my question for you now. Why does asking questions make people so fucking angry? And if there's nothing to hide, why all the rage? So guys, let me know in the comments what you're thinking, because I think it's just crazy that even just asking the questions gets you like annihilated. I always say, if she was talking complete bullshit, no one would be paying attention. The thing is that she is starting to make sense, and the FBI narrative is such bullshit that we can't believe that. So now we're trying to find out what the true story is with the evidence that's presented to us. And Candace Owens, it's an investigation. She's throwing daggers out there to see whatever lands. It's an investigation. So we're all just seeking for the answers. And I don't think there's any ill will in her whatsoever. And I don't think she's crossed any lines. So anyways, I'll be the first to say that. Now, let's talk about the Egyptian planes, because this is where it gets weird. Candace Owens did the research. She built a spreadsheet, and here's what she found, or claimed she found. 2 Egyptian military aircraft, tail numbers SU-BTT and SU-BND. She says those planes overlapped with the travel Erika Kirk, Charlie Kirk's wife, for 73 times. Think about that, 73 times over a 3-year period from 2022 to 2025. Now, here's the key detail that most people missed. Of those 73 times, only 29 included Charlie Kirk. That means the planes were more often overlapping with Erika Kirk's location as opposed to Charlie's. So think about that. Candace presented color-coded spreadsheet. She offered it to Erika, Turning Point USA, and she said, on the day Charlie was shot, one of these Egyptian planes briefly powered on at Provo Airport. The other was seen departing nearby. Now, is that proof of conspiracy? No. Is it proof of guilt? Absolutely not. But it is definitely worth asking questions. That is for sure. So watch this clip here when she's trying to explain to Piers where this is all coming from. And I'm with her. Why is he just keeps asking her questions and not letting her speak? And again, it's an investigation. She's just asking the questions. Have a listen here.
Why? What is your theory?
I don't know. I don't know.
But what's your theory then? You must have an idea.
My theory is that we should investigate everything strange that happened on that day so we can figure out what happened.
But are you suggesting that? Are you suggesting
why is everybody
Egypt?
Why are we pretending that we don't know why we ask questions? Like, why? Like, you're a journalist.
But
you know
what
this is. You're like, what's going on? What's going
your
on?
Theory?
Why do you want to know why these planes were tracking Charlie? Well, my theory is that we are being sold absolute Fed slop. The media is doing their Operation Mockingbird Part 2 scenario by telling us, well, unless you absolutely have a conclusion, you can't even ask the question. Yes, we very well damn can. Keep asking consistent questions until we get a clarified explanation for what happened on that day. And right now, we have nothing, okay? And that is the reason why people are watching my show, because I'm the only one not treating them like they're absolute idiots who don't have 2 eyes and who believe in magic bully theories and who understand that Egyptian planes should not have been tracking Charlie even 3 times this year would be an anomaly, okay? They've been tracking him. We don't know where it's going to end, but we are going to keep asking questions until we get clear answers.
Candace, it may be that the person in the media spewing bullshit to the public is you.
No, nice try. It's not. It's you by saying, why are you asking questions? Don't you worry about Mikey's feelings? Everyone knows what this is. And like I said, because we have the example, the concrete example of after JFK's assassination, the media members quite literally being put on the payroll of the CIA, we have a historical example that we can look at and go, we're not doing that again. Doesn't matter how many times you keep telling the public that I'm spewing bullshit. It is only because there has not been anything that has come out of this investigation that makes any sense that the public is not listening to. I am sorry to say this, Piers, people like you. And what I love about you and I sitting down is at this exact same time last year, you were doing the same weird questioning and making all these things when I said that they were committing a Holocaust against the Gazans, and then you changed your mind.
Actually,
Piers,
this time,
I'll see you next year when you change your mind again, and we have more information about what happened, and you realize that the difference between me and you is that I have the courage to take the risks and ask the questions first, okay, before it's popular. You wait until it becomes popular, and then you change your mind.
I think that's hilarious. So, yeah, you see what happened right there. Piers Morgan kept cutting her off or trying to cut her off. And every time Candace tried to answer, he was trying to interrupt. And every time she tried to finish a thought, he had next question. And when she finally snapped back, that's called an investigation, Piers. This whole thing got me all fired up. That's why I want to talk about it, because it's like, I'm just asking questions. They think that because you're asking questions that you should have the exact answer and you solve the problem. It's not. It's asking questions. Like she said, that's why it's called an investigation. We got to check every single avenue. It might end up being nothing, but we got to look at what some of the anomalies are. Anyways, that is exactly the energy that she was giving out. Like, let's just fucking talk about it. Like, the media tries to shut down all the questions. And now Piers isn't a bad guy. I think he genuinely believes, I really truly believe that he believes the Fed slop, as she said, Tyler Robinson did it alone, and that's the end. And here's the thing Piers keeps pressing on. Who do you actually think did it? What's the theory? Who specifically? And Candace answers was honest. I don't know. That's why it's called an investigation. You know what that reminded me of? That's how every single major cold case starts. I am a true crime junkie and I watch them all. And a lot of them end up being cold cases. There's a show called Cold Cases. And, a lot of them, they get people that did crimes in the 80s and 90s when they didn't have DNA. And then they reopen these investigations again because they didn't lead to anything the first time. So now we got new evidence. Now a new avenue, someone else new to look at it. It starts the whole different pathways out again. And a lot of major cold cases have been solved that way. So you have to, like she says, she's got to be Blue's Clues. You got to follow the clues. And would you rather have no one asking questions at all? You think about JFK. You think about what we now know decades later. Charlie Kirk himself in his final months talked about JFK and how many multiple parties can be involved in one single event. That's not conspiracy. That is history. So let's talk about the FBI, because this part bothers me the most. There are Egyptian military aircraft showing up near the scene of a high-profile American assassination on the day of the shooting, and the FBI's response was absolutely nothing. No statement, no acknowledgement. Candace claims she received a tip that a foreign dignitary was picked up from Provo after arriving on an Egyptian plane and was transferred to a joint DHS, FBI, and DEA office at a very specific address, 920 North King Street. Again, that's very specific. That's not a vague theory. That's a specific address, a specific claim. If the FBI was doing its job and this was wrong, wouldn't they just say, no, you're wrong, you're completely off about that? Or why wouldn't they just clarify? Instead, silence. And Candace's response to the silence, I know the government is in panic. Now you can believe her or not, but here's my question. Why is Erika Kirk, Charlie's widow, not the one demanding to know about these planes? If someone told me there were a foreign military aircraft near my spouse's assassination site, I'd be the first one on the phone going, what the fuck is up with this? Wouldn't you? It just seems to me like it would be a given. She doesn't seem to be bothered by it at all. Because, think about this moment, because it was actually very brilliant and so deeply misleading. During a CBS News town hall, Erika Kirk was asked about the Egyptian planes theory. Her response, You really think I'm going to be on the Egyptian plane when I'm wanting to be, with my In-N-Out burger and my chocolate shake? And the crowd just laughed. And personally, I didn't think it was very funny because I knew, because I've been watching this thing like a hawk, no one said that she was on the plane. As soon as she said that, I'm like, no one said you were on the plane. Literally nobody said you were on the plane. So it's just completely misleading to me. Candace's claim was that the Egyptian planes were tracking Erika, following her, monitoring her locations. Nobody accused Erika of flying on an Egyptian aircraft. That's called a straw man argument. You take a claim, you replace it with something much easier to mock, and then they knock down that. It is so classic. It is literally a classic debate technique. And honestly, it worked for a lot of people that weren't really paying attention. But when, like, literally, as soon as she said that, I was like, what is she talking about? I knew what it was immediately. But when Candace called it out, she was right. She posted, literally no one accused Erika or Charlie of flying on Egyptian planes. And here's the deeper irony. If the planes were tracking Erika, then Erika's potentially a victim of surveillance, not a perpetrator. So why would she joke her way out of that one? Doesn't she want to know if she was being monitored? That's the question I can't shake. Why does she not care that if I found out there's a bunch of Egyptian planes following me around, I freaking want to know about it. So there's no way to me that she doesn't already know. How could she not already know? So, but let's be fair, because Erika did reach out. They had their 4.5 private meeting on December 15th. By all accounts, it was productive. They agreed on more than expected. Erika asked Candace directly or indirectly to stop pushing the theories, and Candace said, I was not asked throughout the conversation to stop. Then she said, I will not stop. Now, you can debate whether she should stop. You can debate whether it's helping or hurting. But here's the thing that's coming back to me. Why hasn't Erika Kirk demanded answers about the Egyptian planes herself? She's Charlie's widow. She's now the CEO of Turning Point. She has resources. She has lawyers. She has access. Is this all nonsense? Like, just pull the flight logs, release them, end it. She even said on CBS, if you want me to go through my flight log, go right ahead. It's very boring. And then she didn't release the flight log. So I'm not saying that means anything sinister. I'm saying release the log and end the conversation. Why hasn't that happened? I don't know why she just doesn't put a lot of this shit to rest. It would be so easy. And even if she just, I don't even think it has to be made public. Even if she went just to Candace and said, here are my flight logs, here's where I was, let's leave that, let's stop that narrative. She would just do that. We don't all need to know what her flight logs is, but I think we all can trust if Candace had the information and said, hey guys, I checked it. I'm going to scratch that one on my list. I'm going to the next thing. I think we would all believe her. So anyways, like I said, I keep coming back to every time someone asks a question, in this case, they could called a conspiracy theory. They can get paired to Alex Jones. They get accused of profiting off the grief. And I don't think anybody's doing that. I think we all just want to know what the fuck happened that day, because what they're telling us is complete bullshit. And yet the Egyptian planes did exist. They did show up in flight tracking data, and they are inconsistency in the timeline. And the FBI has stayed completely silent to all of that. Now, does that mean there's a global conspiracy? No, it doesn't, but it means the question deserves answers, real answers, not dismissive, not mockery. And here's what nobody's asking. What about their kids? What she deserved, like they deserve to know what happened to their father. I think Charlie Kirk deserves to know. His legacy deserves to know what happened. And it does deserve a full investigation, not a comfortable one, a full one. I don't believe Tyler Robinson is guilty at all. I don't think the evidence presented proves that. Just the 30-06, what happened from the bullet from a 30-06 is not what happened there. So the lack of blood, I could go on. I have a whole list of things that makes me feel like there's something that's not right. It's not even, to me, it's not even freaking believable. Even though he's confessed and his parents turned him in, I still don't believe it, and even if he did pull the trigger, and sometimes it's the shooters, they pull the trigger, but it's the other people that loaded the gun. So let's just go with their theory. Even if it was him, I truly don't believe he did it by himself. So even if we want to go with the FBI theory, I truly believe that he he never acted alone. There's zero chance of that. So why aren't they even digging deeper into that? So here's where I land with all of this. So Candace Owens, she has a passion. Every time you can tell that she clearly has a passion for this. She clearly just wants answers for Charlie, who was her friend, and I believe a true friend. So she is on fire. And watching her go toe to toe with Piers Morgan, and even if you think she's wrong, you have to respect the conviction. But passion isn't the same as proof. The Egyptian plane data, so they say, was later to have some errors on the locations on her original spreadsheet. And she admitted this spreadsheet was a little misleading, but 2 months later, she has corrected it. But I think there's still a lot of questions surrounding the Egyptian airplanes. And that's where, it's hard to see where the truth lies in all this. So if you have to correct the record, she should just correct the record. But again, this is an investigation. She's looking at all avenues. And even if we all know that there's something wrong with the Egyptian planes, I think she shelved that, and she's still moving on to more and more different theories to prove her case. So I don't know. Here's my final question for all of this. Like, should she stop asking questions? Should we all stop asking questions? Because I don't know. I think that there should be more data out there, and there should be feeding us more information. But to say that the FBI didn't respond about the Egyptian planes at all, which is complete bullshit. They should have said something. The narrative doesn't add up. And there's been ballistic experts, all the experts out there are saying it's not feasible that this could even happen, between putting the gun together and taking it apart. There's just so many ways that the FBI narrative is bullshit. And the thing is that they've never refuted any of those claims. So I don't know. Is it more dangerous to ask questions? I don't think so. In a world where they're trying to make us afraid to ask questions. And I just think that's wrong. I think that we should be able to ask questions. And like I said, I keep going back to, if Candace was so out there and she was batshit crazy, we'd be all looking at her like, oh, she's batshit, so let's just move on and not listen to her anymore. But when you have millions and millions of people listening to you and really wanting to know the answers, I don't think even though she might go off the track a little bit. But again, if anybody watches true crime, that happens all the time. They go down different roads. And like I said in my last video, when someone lies, it's usually the indicator that's where to look. And that's what she even talked about. Like, when I have another video of her talking about the Egyptian planes, and she said, the reason I went after the Egyptian planes, because people kept telling me not to look there, to forget about it. She says, the more they press me not to do something is an indication for me to press harder that way. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts. Should we stop asking questions, or is Candace on to something and we should just keep pressing forward? I say go Max. Go Max. And I think Charlie Kirk would do the same thing. If he had questions, if something happened, or I think if the tables were turned, he would 100% be looking for the answers that she's looking for. So anyways, guys, please like, subscribe, share, hype, and I'll talk to you guys soon. And leave me your comments. Either way, I don't need an echo chamber. If you think she's completely full of shit and we're all wasting our time and we should move on, have at it. But it's just so hard to see. He was such a beloved person. And I think that, agree with him or disagree with him, I think he was down deep a good person, and he believed in his convictions and was just trying to portray that. He was all for asking questions. And that's why he said, go Max. And I think that if he was here, he would be telling her to go Max. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Again, thanks. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.